Are we live? I think we're actually live this time on X. Seems like it's working. That's good. I've got something important to say to everybody. I've got a question for everyone, actually. Do you ever get that feeling that encroaches on the periphery of your consciousness? It's sort of unpleasantness. It's uncertain, certain vague sense of impending doom that your daily actions that forge the links of the chain that is your life are just making a longer coil that will tighten about your neck one day. Some people definitely feel this, I know, but I get the sense that this chain I'm building doesn't just encircle me, but perhaps loops around many other people. Ethically, I must say this is the end. For even if it gives me a sense of control over my own obliteration to work daily on this great work, I have no right to your own obliteration. I'm sure AI will make people fabulously wealthy, many people, but the cost is not one I'm willing to pay. Welcome to Club Cod3x.
Got that CDX token, we the ones chosen. Every stake, every year, while I stay golden. Cod3x Club, AI not focused, it's an anthem. CDX got them frozen.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, guys, what's going on?
How's your day been? How's your weekend?
I think that the creative director behind Fortnite dances had the same exact soliloquy when he created the Gritty.
When he created the Gritty, I don't know if he created the Gritty.
Did he not?
Gritty origins. Let's ask Rock. Rock, what are the origins of the Gritty? It's going to take about 15
I had a great
minutes.
weekend. I was on a business trip. Guess where?
Las Vegas?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
How'd I know? How'd it go?
The business side went really well. The recreational side was interesting. We were being guided around by some natives. So we skipped the strip and just did like fun stuff. Went to the pinball museum, went to the neon graveyard, ate at some hidden gems. Las Vegas is like a really cool city, and it's like well curated degeneracy. It's like the cleanest city, but also the most disgusting and degenerate at the same time. And I appreciate that. It's like they know what they're doing, I would say, over there.
And which sector of DeFi would you categorize similarly? Well curated degeneracy.
Altcoins.
Just like
VC.
I was thinking chain wise, what would you think is the Las Vegas?
Well curated degeneracy. Base maybe.
Yeah.
I would say like right. Solana's a little too sloppy and nasty, and there's not really anything else going on anywhere that is that degenerate. Maybe like Sonic has been kind of degen lately. Maybe like DeFi is kind of well curated degeneracy, where you're just kind of playing against the house, being the whales who know what they're doing, whereas you are just kind of fumbling along, trying your best to understand things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hear Las Vegas has become a lot less grimier. There's still prostitute cards everywhere, all over the floor. When I was a kid in Vegas, they were just everywhere.
There was one guy that came up to us, and he said, "Hey, you want to see some tits?" And then he gave us a card, but the card was for a jazz club, and we were like, "Dude, you probably would have gotten us if you had just said." You want to see some jazz? I like to imagine a guy in a trench coat like, "Hey, kids, you want to see some jazz?" And then he just opens up his coat and it's like Miles Davis and like Coltrane.
Wow.
That's dangerous. Now that's dangerous.
You think it's like topless jazz?
It could have been.
Playing jazz topless?
I mean, maybe. I feel like there was some like, women wearing skimpy clothing and they had to be under like a heat lamp, like lizards. And I just kind of felt sorry for them because it was like really chilly. And like, I was with my fiance and, we were
so you couldn't save them.
Partners. Yeah. We're like, we could save you with this one 45-cent tip. Your life will change forever.
Wow.
No,
one 15-cent token.
Just visit Cod3x.org if you want to thank them.
Well, I'm glad you had a great time in Vegas. What about you, Charles? You just got back from a trip as well.
Yeah. Last week I was a little bit disoriented, to be honest. I was like trying to fit my way back into the regular workflow. But I had a good weekend. I hung out with some friends, had a little dinner party. As per usual.
Wow.
And I played hockey
Sophisticated.
yesterday.
Okay, there we go. I
Yeah.
was gonna say you sound like an 85-year-old man. I went and had a dinner party with some friends, a little wine party.
We partied after.
That's awesome.
It was dinner and then a party. It was fun.
We got turned up a little bit, huh?
The crazy weekend for the Cod3x crew.
Well, I'm happy to hear you guys are enjoying yourselves. I'm out here having an existential crisis, and you guys are just living it up, huh?
Sorry.
Well,
I also realized that we had a time change.
Oh, dude, that was
this weekend. So people might be kind of the Europors are going to be confused by the timing right now.
I drove to Vegas and got there at like 1, and I didn't get to sleep until 2. And then the next day there was the time change, and it was just like I got kind of body bagged, but I'm probably gonna go to bed early tonight, and all will be well.
Going this direction, it's always shitty for like a week,
Yeah.
and then you get later sunsets, and it's nice. So like a little bit of short term pain, but overall, it's always nice.
That reminds me of something.
It's all worth it. What does that remind you of, Beavis?
A little short term pain, and then everything's gonna go great.
Is it this? Is this what it reminds you of?
It does remind me of this.
Look at this. Isn't this beautiful? Nothing but red, except for USDS, which I don't know. That's even what I want to see with a stable coin. Bitcoin Cash doing good. 2.5% up on the day. Everything else, brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't
the S&P is down like 3% today, which is
I mean, I think like there was a while where we were kind of divorced for reality, speculating on the best case scenario in a Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing that we're getting a median to good case scenario. And obviously, anytime things aren't perfect, you just need to puke 30% of the industry's value because this is crypto and nobody knows what's going on. So it's just like, well, going down, got to sell, going up, got to buy. But I think overall, it's like, we're going to see some overselling. We're going to see some mean reversion and everything's going to be okay.
Yes. Like any bull market, as I choose to believe that we're still in a bull market, there's always massive drawdowns. There's always periods in the bull market where people think it's over. So
you're saying there's a bear trap. Is that what they call it?
I don't know, man.
Stable coins on chain are going up and to the right. And the thing is, like, there's so much institutional money in Bitcoin and ETH now that like the concept of a 4-year cycle is really stupid. Like it's like people are going to be interested in crypto only every 4 years. That's not really how markets work. So you have like the camp that is still living in that mindset. Like, hey, this is a nascent, weird industry that people probably shouldn't be allowed to speculate on, but are anyway. And so you have like these crazy, exhausting, drawn out cycles. But now it's like, BlackRock and Goldman Sachs and all these players are, trading Bitcoin and ETH in significant size. And they're going to buy the dip and they're going to sell the rip. So maybe expect some normalcy, which would be really cool.
And what do we consider normalcy here? Okay, do we mean everything's going to pump 100x? Is that what we consider normalcy here? Let's talk about that. This conceptualization of normal in crypto is completely insane, isn't it?
Yeah,
we expect
it is
well-curated degeneracy.
It is well-curated degeneracy. I'm going to maybe I can do an illustration here of what I mean.
Draw something on the screen for us.
I'm going to crack open the Paint, the Microsoft Paint, which I know this is about to be good.
That's a fan favorite tool of the show. We love to use Paint. Let's throw it up here.
All right.
This is tech, guys.
This is tech. This is technology that changed the world forever. Up there with Space Cadet Pinball.
Let's have a little competition in the chat. See some people talking about this is normal. The port doesn't look so hot anymore. Tell us how much you round trip, dude.
Yeah,
let's see who's got the biggest number here.
Yeah, who lost the most these past 12 months? Notionally, of course. Who has the most unrealized gains from the market top? So let me show you a thing.
Okay.
And a lot of things mirror this thing that I'm going to show you. Boop, boop,
Mhm.
boop, 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 boop.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing is how I was introduced to it. I don't even know what it's called. But this thing is how algorithmic stablecoins in the era of empty set dollar and basis cash would describe their peg discovery mechanism, being the expansion of contraction and contraction of supply and the instability of the asset as it reaches a level of maturity, where people figure out how much real demand there is for this. And historically, crypto has been really, 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 really bad at knowing what anything at all costs, because the reference for everybody is Bitcoin, because for a lot of crypto natives, they only trade crypto. Once you get a taste, it's hard to diversify away from it. And so because nobody knows what anything costs, they're going to buy it way too high. They're going to sell it way too low over and over and over and over and over again, thus exacerbating these cycles. And right now, like every single time frame applies here. So right now, I would say crypto has maybe been through, where's my little guy?
Hold on, son. Let me into your Discord, bro.
We're like, we're maybe here. Bitcoin's 80K. Things are going good. Things are going crazy. People still don't really know how to value this stuff. And so pricing isn't really accurate. Nobody's pricing things against discounted cash flow. Everybody's talking about monetary premium. Everybody's trying to psyop everybody else into thinking, this is how you value it. Bitcoin should be $1 billion or Bitcoin should be $0, whatever. And I think what we're seeing now is because institutions are involved, things are still getting overbought and things are still getting oversold, but they're not getting so oversold or so overbought that there's just this insane, zero risk arb opportunity, because institutions have their price levels that they're willing to step in, and they're totally price insensitive. They don't give a shit what's going on. Their time horizons are 10, 20, 30 years. So they will buy low and sell high, as is their mandate, roughly. Obviously, they're trading crypto. This isn't like a science yet. So I think we're going to see these cycles get compressed, both on the y-axis, so the actual amount of the swings as things are overbought and oversold are going to get less, but also they're going to get compressed on the x-axis, being the amount of time it takes for these swings to actually execute are going to get compressed, because people are going to be buying earlier, or they're going to be buying earlier, they're going to be selling earlier, and more of the volume is going to be taken up by these institutional parties that know what they're doing and have a thesis and know how they are going to price these assets. It doesn't matter how Joe Schmo is going to price the assets. It matters how BlackRock is going to price these assets, because they're the bidder. And so they're going to buy, they're going to sell, and slowly their methodology for pricing crypto assets and all these other ETF issuers and new huge institutional players are slowly going to envelop the entire market. And we're just going to be trading against, BlackRock, which is how, we're going to be trading as BlackRock against Tower, against Citadel. It's just going to become TradFi, and how people price in these or think about like premiums and discounts in the market. It's just going to evolve quite a bit. So it's not the end of the world. Everybody's being so crazy. Everybody's like,
yep, we assassinated Beavis because he was talking nonsense. It's the end of the world, as I said at the beginning. Charles, what did you think about that? It sounds like what he's describing is a general stabilization of the markets, kind of transforming into like a typical stock market, where you have price fluctuations, like on the S&P, of like 0.01% or something a day, 0.1%, right?
Yeah,
and that's like a big swing. Welcome back,
again.
Beavis. Back from the dead.
Yeah. I generally agree with what Beavis is saying. I mean, like, that analogy can kind of be applied to everything. Like it doesn't even need to be finance. It can be the growth of some sort of sector. It doesn't have to be tech. It doesn't have to be finance. When things start out, there's usually tons of growth and then a huge drawdown and then tons of growth, and it levels out. Generally, as things attract mass, they become, harder to move. So that goes for industry. It goes for a lot of things. So it's I generally agree. And I would just say that just if you're looking at Twitter, it's take it with a grain of salt. Always. There needs to be take it down 95% of what people are saying on Twitter, and then that's typically maybe the general sentiment. But everybody's looking for clicks and engagement and likes. So obviously they're going to go to the top shelf all the time. There's no reason for anyone to be reasonable on Twitter because it doesn't get them anything.
Social media is a scourge. It's pure entertainment. It's like thinking about it as anything beyond that. You're just going to lose your next trade.
Is this because we're a slave to the algorithm?
We are a slave.
The algorithm is highly selective for emotional. I mean, news media has traditionally been selective for emotional content, but it's just gotten way worse. Charles, what do you use for a source? Beavis, what do you use for a source? How do you guys stay grounded in this era where so much of the information you're being bombarded with, right? Like you don't get your news from Twitter, do you?
No, like general news or like crypto news?
Either.
Well, crypto, I get a lot of my news from Twitter. But I don't look at. I just you take a headline and then you do your own diligence there. But Twitter's good for headlines. Like if you need to see what people are talking about, you don't pay attention to what they're saying. It's just what's the subject that they're on, and then you find the subject through other means. I don't use Twitter for any other news.
I think Twitter, it's kind of like the same as that chart. It's like people are always going to try to be polarizing. And so why I think that's cool is that you can kind of harvest both sides of the coin in terms of information, and then synthesize that into your own opinion. Because everybody has vested interests, everybody has conflicts of interest, and everybody obviously wants to be as brash as possible, so they get algo pickup. But at the end of the day, it's like it's entertainment. It's news entertainment, and I don't know if I appreciate that necessarily. But at the very least, like people are incentivized to also be quick to break news. People are incentivized to be the first one to say something. All the whales, bots, all the various tier 10K news aggregator type guys want to be the first people to say what's up. And I appreciate that on social media.
It's not that different from a newsroom, right? Everyone wants to be the first one in a newsroom to break the story. Yeah. But I guess there is, I don't know, a lot of the incentives are still in the same place, right? Like you get paid on Twitter by getting the engagement fast, being the first one to break a story, get as much emotional impact as possible, the most eyes on it. Is there really any kind of solution for this? Is AI a solution for this? No, I don't think so.
I'll tell you,
that's pulling out my ass a little bit.
I think AI is a solution for the creative, emotional perfectionist to divorce themselves from the product. Because optimizing for an algorithm, if you're someone who cares about your work, you're not like, if you write a beautiful piece, people aren't generally going to read it because it's not optimized for algo pickup. And I think an interesting thing that I see with AI is people who are really creative are able to divorce themselves from the output in that way, because then it's like, this AI is modifying my content to optimize for Twitter, and I don't have to, feel bad about it because I'm just, it's doing its job, I'm doing my job. So yeah, in that way, sure, AI is a solution, but I think it's a solution just that it protects us from the death of humanity.
Excuse me.
It's like
How so?
we're watching the humanities die
Uh-huh.
before our eyes, and like the UV shield is AI, because we can,
Well, so
we can still participate.
I guess what you're saying is, instead of like me having to sell my soul to the algorithm, like just be very like crazy and like,
Yeah.
emotionally evocative, to get clicks or whatever, I can have the AI do it for me. But isn't like the damaging part of that more so on the receptive end? So it's like, instead of like being like, now like Charles is doing a TikTok dance and telling me about Palestinian children getting blown up or whatever, instead of me suffering the emotional damage of seeing that, now it's an AI doing it with like the penguins in Madagascar now generated to do the same thing.
Yeah, but
10,000 times more.
you're not necessarily, except in longer time frames, going to change the market's interests, though. So every niche is still going to be filled. And the thing is, like, what did Charles just say? Charles just said, I want to consume this crypto content without thinking too hard about the emotional or the fluff side of it, because all I'm trying to do is get information. And I think really the information battlefield, the attention battlefield, is just going to differ really greatly from like what we do for pleasure. And so like the idea of a beautifully written article about crypto, like people aren't in crypto for beauty. Have you seen Bored Apes?
Mhm.
People are in crypto for their jobs, to make money, to position themselves financially. So I would say crypto, especially, or tech more broadly, finance more broadly, a beautifully written piece really translates to a piece that takes twice as long to read.
Well, let me challenge you here on this, right? So there are the beautifully written pieces. I'm thinking like, think of like an Atlantic article, right? Like they're going out of their way to make it somewhat entertaining and engaging with
Yeah.
whatever subject matter they're looking for, versus like a Bloomberg terminal, which is giving me what a journalist is writing because they're at the hearing or they're at the price call and they're just
Yeah.
taking notes, right? So the AI can maybe fill in either one of those to varying degrees of success.
Yeah.
But the problem is the demand side of the market does demand the emotional stimulation, because the end point is us being humans, right? And emotion moves us. So
Yeah.
like, while I might benefit more from getting just the straight facts and then interpreting those in my own way,
Yeah.
what I'm going to gravitate towards and what people are going to craft AI to do is make the more emotionally moving content, right? It's the same reason why, I could read a research paper, right? But am I going to read the research paper, or am I more likely to read the article someone wrote about the research paper?
Yeah. I mean, I would almost say that the long form, beautiful, emotional content is more so like, the person that reads it top to bottom, I think, is someone that has a reason to form an opinion. Maybe they're learning, maybe they're an executive, maybe they just want to impress their friends with their cool opinions. So if you read one of those, you're probably going to have a similar opinion to them. If you read five of them, you'll probably have quite a nuanced opinion, especially if you're selecting the content properly. But I think for a lot of people, you read the headline, you're like, okay, how much do I need to have an opinion on this? And I would say probably over half of the readers are skimming. And, I would say over 70% like don't necessarily gain anything from the opinion. Because if I read an article about crypto, I've been here 5 years professionally. 9 times out of 10, they've got nothing to teach me. 19 times out of 20. So it's really like, okay, I might read it if I need to understand market sentiment. What are the normies thinking about crypto right now? What has them scared? And then I can develop kind of empathy for people who maybe aren't as hardened to these, price swings or this volatility. But at the end of the day, like I only need to be a tourist. I only need to have a taste. And really, I'm looking for hard data because I don't really give a shit what anybody else thinks, because if I'm going to outcompete anybody else, I need to not be thinking what they're thinking. I need to be thinking steps ahead. And if I were to write some emotional content, like I generally write about things that aren't that important to the business, you know. And anytime I'm like, this would be cool content, I have to think and like, am I going to reveal trade secrets if I write this interesting piece of content? Or am I going to, show our butts, so to speak, stick our butt out the window if I write about this? So the most interesting things, the best things going on in crypto, the most compelling, you're not even reading. Like nobody's writing about them. Someone might write about it 3 years later after doing some research and doing some interviews. But to the normal person, I think, you're just kind of seeing the tip of the iceberg. You're seeing the froth. Very rarely can people peer into like, what is Tether's CFO thinking about the markets right now? Where does he think the market's going to be in a few months? He's not telling you. If you could get a meeting with him, like you probably need to be his homie if he's going to even give you a hint of what he's thinking. And so I think overall, like it's just built to give people ammo to either form opinions or build empathy. But at the end of the day, like talking about Cod3x, like building AI tools to just scrape social, come up with a single output for sentiment, because okay, all these screaming frothy, people who are down 90%, I don't care to read through the froth. All I want to know is how are people feeling? What's the fear and greed index at right now? That's just my kind of interpretation. And obviously, like I like reading puff pieces every now and then, but if I'm going to read a puff piece, it ain't going to be about crypto. It's going to be about like, oh, we just figured out how to dig a 20-mile deep hole, or whatever the hell is going on in the tech world. But
interesting. So I guess what you're getting at here is the advantage of an AI would be to just tell you what the point of, like, what the froth is, right? But yeah. I guess the issue here is, right, is if the AIs are creating the froth as well, right? Yeah. And if you're doing so intelligently, which you can already see happening with non-AI agents, right? Yeah. You got guys in China and Russia and here in the NSA or whatever, they run 50 social media accounts because they're trying to generate froth so that they can lead people to come to conclusions, right? This is how social, we're not the only ones to realize that, emotions drive your actions. And if you can manipulate the emotional sentiment of a sphere, you can change how people interpret it, right? Yeah. What you're really trying to manipulate at the end of the day is like, how a person forms an opinion to perform an action, right? Is like, I have to have data, I have to have feelings about the data, and I have to draw conclusions from these data points, right? Yeah. So there's all kinds of ways you can attack this. You can attack the data, you can attack the feelings about the data, or you can implant like what the conclusions are. For instance, right? I can tell you eggs are fucking $10 or whatever. I can tell you it's because of this, and I can tell you you have to blame this person, right? But we don't know if that's actually the truth, the conclusion to be drawn from that, right? I have to build the truth, right? Yeah. So at what stage is the AI most helpful? Is it at drawing the conclusions? Is it at providing the data? Is it at providing you the emotional, like priming you to have the proper emotional response? That's kind of what
I think it can do any of that. It's really like the important thing about AI is it can take unstructured data, it can take a pile of shit and compress it into a delicious hard candy that you could just pop in your mouth. And, if you're saying, you can engineer a prompt to filter out the emotional or focus on the emotional. And I think that's the important thing about AI as a tool is, the froth is called the froth unstructured data being expressions of emotion, and you can even have AI look for anomalies and point them out using reasoning or chain of thought techniques, where it's like, hey, look at all this data, try to develop like, a set of numbers that represent this information. Look at it, see if there are any anomalies, maybe analyze the reputability of the source, and maybe pull out those anomalies to figure out, hey, this is who's spreading misinformation. Maybe think about why. And to do that as a human being, like, would take hours of poring through Twitter, and developing a machine learning algorithm to do it, or a neural network to do it. By the time you finish developing it, changing all the weights, changing all the embeddings, changing all the vectoring, it won't matter anymore. So with AI, you have the ability to take in huge amounts of unstructured data, distill it into insight, no matter what insight you're looking for, and be done with it. And if you want the emotional, you can get the emotional. And I think, like, to me, it's like, I love art. I love things that are well written. I think it's almost like a net positive for, like, people that are really good at art, because now, like, the guy messing around on DeviantArt who thinks he should be treated like Picasso because he can draw, Link from Zelda in a diaper 1,000 different ways. That guy now has to compete with Dolly, and that guy's going to lose 10 times out of 10. But the thing is, like, even the best AI artists, their shit's good, and it's better than a lot of, Link diaper wearing artists. But the best traditional artists just totally mog AI still and will forever. Like, there's absolutely no way that, an artist that's truly creative and can think in these amazing abstractions can be mimicked by AI. There's not, like, even if you train an agent on it, and even if you, like, invest billions of dollars to mimic this one artist, you won't be able to, unless their art is, technically simplistic and entirely digital. An AI isn't going to learn how to mix oil paints and what level of surface tension they need to get to achieve a certain effect, and then be able to also execute. Maybe eventually, maybe robotics are going to get there, but at least for the next 10 years or so, I think we're in the clear.
Real quick, why is this an hour early? Daylight savings time. You can thank, I forget who did it, Benjamin Franklin or whatever. Hope it's without emotion. Peter Brask, interesting point. I could talk forever about the importance of emotion in terms of our decision making and how it plays a much larger role in our navigation of our lives, and whether that's good or bad, right? Do we want to be thoughtless machines, Charles? Or unfeeling machines? Do we want to be Spock, dude?
Sometimes. For the most part, no.
Sometimes.
I was going to mention I met someone at Denver, in Denver from Research Hub, and it's basically a platform for like democratizing scientific research, and sort of like an open funding platform for getting research done, where researchers, pardon?
DSci.
No.
Decentralized science.
Well, I guess
that is what DSci is.
It is what DSci
That's
is.
exactly what DSci.
We talked about this.
You said DSci and I heard DPIN because that's
Charles got scammed by a DSci guy in Denver. Stories all the time.
Yeah.
I did last year. It's cool. DSci's awesome.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's a cool platform, but we were talking about a role of AI agents where you can develop and tune a very custom AI agent to have some sort of domain knowledge in some sort of field of study, where they can go in and get, I guess, proposals for research vetted, and either approved or not approved. Basically, vote for that proposal to get funding to do the research, or turn it down, because right now there's not enough incentive for people to go in and read a bunch of proposals and try and figure out which ones are legit and which ones aren't.
That's called role-based prompting, and that takes about 5 seconds to implement.
Now, there's been something going around a lot lately about these HR departments incorporating large language models, AI, I don't know, whatever the marketers are calling them, to filter job applicants. And there's been a lot of pushback on this because they'll have rejection rates of 98, 99%, right?
Yeah.
What do we think is happening here? How can we, if we can't even figure out that the guy who's got a degree in electrical engineering might make a decent electrical engineer, how can we trust it to know whether or not funding on, I don't know, plants or whatever the hell is worth it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like filtering through resumes or pitch decks or whatever. I think that's a really good use case, and I think it does a really good job of that. Because the thing is, like, you know, depending on, and here's the issue. Here's the real issue. Job descriptions are fucking numb-nuttedly stupid. Like the mental illness, and this is corporate bloat. You know, this is like, you know, not 80% of HR people shouldn't have jobs, whatever. You look at a modern job description, they want you to be like, have a specific personality type. You know, they want zero diversity. It's like, we want exactly this person with exactly this thing. We want the resume to look like this, whatever. That's the issue. The issue is not with the AI. The issue is with the job descriptions, because, you know, these HR guys have, you know, maybe 2 hours of work to do a day at most. They're in the office for 8 hours. So they need to just come up with, you know, the most gigabrain, detailed job description in the entire world, when you can probably get away with a few sentences like, hey, have experience, you know, working with the MERN stack, or be good enough to learn it. You know, don't be a dickhead, you know, live around here, hopefully, speak English, speak Spanish, and then you're done. And the rest of that is like, you know, 2 weeks of learning on the job. Like, I don't know. Corporate America is silly. My mom was a really senior HR professional. She was like a chief human officer or whatever the hell for a health company. And she would just lament how idiotic it all was all the time when I was younger.
I could see that. But do we not think that AI is a further extension of this kind of depersonalization? Because kind of what you're describing here is, if we try to completely structure everything, especially when it comes into human interactions or filtering for people, we lose kind of something that can't be captured by data, right? I pulled up a Reddit post where this lady's talking about it here. Tell me if this is a good source, okay? I'm in the unenviable position of looking for a new role at the moment, but I'm really struggling. I have 15 plus years of experience in tech. In the past, had recruiters knocking my door constantly, but recently I have no interest from them at all, and all the job applications I am submitting seem to be getting auto declined. And Jordan says, yeah, AI is fucking it up. A lot of applicants are using AI to match their resumes to job descriptions. Heard of significant uptake of perfect candidates bombing screening interviews. So people that can optimize for the AI's filtering, but are incapable of performing in the interview.
Skill
and also,
issue.
She makes some points here. Like you said, maybe you're not the perfect candidate on paper, but we sit down and talk to you. We realize you're really quick. Actually, you'd be a huge advantage to the company. Maybe we can train you up in 2 weeks. So I guess the question I'm kind of leading to with this is, where does it begin and end where we can implement these AI? Where we brought up art a little bit, right? And I would say your example with like the surface tension of the paintbrush, where that seems to me something that an AI would excel at. They're not even an AI, just programming, right? Like there's some sort of formula, some mathematical thing. We can figure it out and create the perfect implementation.
In theory. And I think this is the same issue we're running into, is like, in theory, if you had this much Dawn dish soap, you know, to your acrylic paint mixture, and this much water, you know, and this much medium, you should achieve this outcome. But the thing is, like, that perfect outcome is not what makes art beautiful or compelling. You don't want a perfect outcome. You want an outcome that is perfectly imperfect. You want every mixture to be slightly different, so that when you look at the painting, every layer or every part of the painting has its own character. And I think it's the same issue that we're running into with the HR here, for example, wherein your perfect candidate is not going to be perfect. The perfect software candidate is, the second he gets a job, going to be applying for more jobs right after. Because the person who optimizes themselves and their lives for the job market, you know, the person that tries to go to the best school, the person who reads blogs about career maxing, you know, the person who tries to take 2 jobs on at once, that's not the person that's going to be perfect for your business, but they're going to have a perfect resume. And I think the AI, like, will reveal a lot about its operator. because you're going to get those terrible results if you don't actually know what you want. And you just have this job description. If you know what you want, you can turn AI into the ultimate weapon. But if you don't know what you want, if you are not a critical thinker, then this changing of paradigm being, everything manual versus everything happening, in like machine language at a huge scale, it's just totally different. And people who don't know how to use AI tools, that use AI tools, are going to fail. And those companies are going to get the worst candidates, and they're going to lose their job. And it's because they haven't really tried to understand like what matters at all. It's the people that see the Harvard degree and think this person is my God. They'll be the ultimate candidate, even without reading further. And then it turns out they were, doing cocaine the whole time, and waste, $80,000 of your company's money and move on. Filtering through that, it's like, it's a skill issue. If you don't know how to judge people, that's your problem.
Yeah. So I think what Justin is saying to your specific question, Corval, is like, is not where shouldn't we be integrating AI? It's how should we be integrating AI? Because it has very little to do with AI itself, and has everything to do with how it's being used.
AI is a tool.
It's a tool. So like in that woman's example where she's like looking for a job and the companies on the other side of that should be using AI, but they need to fix their own processes before they're slapping on AI.
And if she has 15 years in tech, she should recognize that this is happening immediately and just optimize her shit for AI so that when she goes into the interview, it's an easy lock. Because if you're smarter than the person in HR, which this person seems to be claiming they are, I'm smarter than this person in HR. Dude, like getting past the AI screening should take zero effort. Getting past AI screening, it's like, okay, read the job description. Hey, AI, write me a resume that fits that job description without outright lying. Okay, now I'm in the interview and I can impress. And it's just, I think people aren't clicking into that immediately because people have underestimated the proliferation of AI. I'm using AI tools every day now, and I know a lot of professionals are the same way. And the thing is, like, I'm obviously, a little bit credulous or incredulous. I don't trust the AI necessarily to do a great job quite yet. But it's just volume. It's a volume game. And the thing is, like, if you can break their AI screening and prove that you're smart enough and quick enough to do that, that's a signal in my mind. And it's like you hear so many stories about unorthodox, like ways that people got hired. It's like at the end of the day, once you hit a human, it's just going to be a funny story, especially if you're upfront about it. Like, hey, I pen tested your AI screener. I don't actually do any of this, but I'm good as fuck at engineering and I'd like this job. That's a motivated person and that's a smart person. And they would get the second interview. But yeah, it's just, we live in a changing world and people need to adapt.
I guess the question is it changing for the better, right? That's the key thing, right? Are we putting these roadblocks in for no reason? Is that filtering? Is that still filtering for the best candidate? If I'm now making you play a stupid game that has nothing to do with what I need you to do,
net zero.
You need to trick my AI with your own AI in order so that you can dig ditches for me. Like, what are we doing anymore? What is the point of this?
Yeah, I think right now it's just like the implementations are so dumb. Because there's so much money flooding in and not enough merit to back it up, as is always the case with these, nascent technologies. AI isn't nascent, but LLMs in their usable state are. I think it's really just about the world figuring it out because it is a net positive. And if you're like PvP with AI, it's like two people who know what they're doing remotely, it will always net out to zero, which to me is fine. It's like, essentially, the HR company has put a filter on that requires you to understand AI tools to get the job. But when you're doing PVE and you're solo and you're using it to help your copywriting, you're using it to help your research, you're using it to maybe perform some task asynchronously, that's when it 10x's, 100x's productivity in my mind. And the PvP, it's like, okay, if you put this wall that requires, you know, an understanding of AI tooling to actually see me, fuck it. You know, if I get a bodyguard that filters out people who don't know what they're doing, that's cool. I don't lose anything from that. And it's just like, okay, we're spending maybe 5 cents in compute paid, you know, upstream to NVIDIA so that we could keep the U.S. economy going and the tech industry going, just so we can cancel out these two AI tools.
Interesting.
It is what it is, you know. I think it's positive in a PvE sense, certainly, and in a PvP sense in niche cases. And long term, I think it will all just net out to zero. The bad elements, that is.
The bad elements will net out to zero because with the PvP stuff. Now, PvP. What is Cod? What are Cod3x agents then at this point? Are they PvP? Are they PvE? Are they a mix of both? What are we building at here?
They're kind of both. They're kind of both. I mean, it's PvP in the finance sense, in that you are now the HR person with the filter. You know, you are given these financial tools that let you trade like a professional trader. And now anybody who can't match that skill level is just going to lose the trade against you at a huge like macro scale. And it's really like, you know, you can now operate and, you know, distill all this unstructured data into execution of a financial strategy. And thus, the idea is, I think, like in a lot of this AI stuff, eventually everybody needs to use Cod3x. Otherwise, everybody will be at a perpetual disadvantage. And at that point, it will be net zero. But the markets will be perfectly efficient at that point. And we have just created kind of like a utopian vision. It's the same with cars. Like, okay, you know, you are now safer in a perfect world. You're now safer because you have this AI driver. Over time, if you compound, you know, deaths per year of people who don't adopt AI, you know, you compound like regulation and the moving of the Overton window toward technology, which is almost always the case. Eventually, everybody is driving with AI assistance, and there are no more car crashes, which is like one of the hugest economic like disasters. Like car crash statistics are insane. So really, it's just like, how can we take unstructured data, being the world, and turn it into like a perfect action? And a perfect action when it comes to the economy, I think, is an action that everyone understands and respects and can like realistically play on the other side of. And now, like at that point, you know, maybe all of us, you know, can just hang out, and the whole world will just hang out for the rest of time.
Now, I've got two questions for Charles here, because I think the idea of a perfect market, right, is an interesting one, because I think that's a hard thing to really grasp. I don't know if that's something you've ever really looked at, Charles, or thought about. Has this ever even been conceptualized outside of a model? Like, how would that even work? A perfect market, that everything is priced absolutely perfectly, regardless of inputs and outputs, or like just strictly based off of supply and demand? No speculation?
Yeah. I mean, what's your question? I mean, a perfect market means perfectly efficient. So there is speculation, but the price at which the market meets is the true price all the time, if that makes sense. Or at least,
it's like,
you know.
Yeah, people will still speculate on the potential for this deal to yield well 2 years from now. People are still going to buy. And then when the deal goes poorly, it will just be repriced to the level at which people thought it would go poorly bought at.
Does gouging still occur? Will bubbles still occur in a perfect market?
I mean, that's a good question.
I think, yes. If the perfect market is a world where everybody is taking the data given to them and synthesizing a conclusion.
Like,
because
if an AI, right, its goal is to generate profit, right? Is it that different from like a person on Wall Street whose goal is to generate profit that is really, really intelligent in the sense that I can take advantage of a bubble, right?
Yeah.
It pays me to feed into the bubble now.
But I think all the
regardless of
AI is
anything.
doing is it's creating models and reacting to them and adapting existing models in real time, or very close to real time. And the model can still be incorrect.
Yeah.
And so now we just have all of these models being shoved into this massive, differential equation that is pricing assets. And if a model ends up being incorrect, then that person will lose money and the person with the correct model will make money.
And the models can be incorrect because of
they still have
randomness.
To guess. Yeah.
Because of universal random. And like, unless you're a determinist and you think that AI can
read the mind of
predict
God.
the future because everything is predetermined. Things like animal spirits and randomness are still exist in
Animal
a perfectly
spirits.
efficient.
I'm gonna make an AI company.
Animal
that
spirits.
And animal spirits is something that who coined that term? Some famous economist. It's just the movement of price, like on a daily basis that isn't attributed to anything.
Yeah.
That you can't go, okay, the price moved because of this. It's random. It's a term for randomness, for market randomness.
Homie wanted to buy
John Maynard Keynes. Thank you.
Homie wanted to buy a steak dinner, and he didn't want to pay cash, so or pay out of his bank account.
So what we're really talking about here is crafting truly rational actors.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm laughing at this comment.
Isn't economics
a liberal arts degree?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
With AI, we're going to turn economics into a true hard science because we're going to replace all you unreliable, emotional buffoons with perfect AI agents, Mr. Smiths, if you will.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like that. It is kind of exciting to be able to.
Daniel D, come on the show, dude. Come on. I know I think I got something to say.
Daniel D, get up here.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of exciting to think about the idea that that economics can be more applicable, or you can create actually accurate models, economic models, because you have, whatever the majority of the actors in the economic system are, exactly how they're going to behave.
Yeah.
That's kind of exciting. So
if everything is perfectly designed, think about it like open interest. There will always be people on the other side of a trade, like one-to-one, because everything is priced in such a way that you have the entire curve filled out with perfect balance. So it's a world that won't ever exist, but it's a world that if everybody is operating on the same mathematical principles, devoid of emotion, it's a world that will be reflected more so as time goes on, and really as compute gets cheaper, as AI models get bigger and better, and as more people operate using big data tooling like ML and AI.
Interesting. Well, I think this was a good conversation here. It's made me a little bit less depressed, maybe. AI is still a frightening concept when we really think about it, what we're actually building towards, a world where a lot of us, a lot of you, me, everyone else, largely irrelevant in the day-to-day operations of the world. What do I need to paint or do? Why even bother learning how to paint when Midjourney can do it, dude? All I learn how to do is prompts. And then eventually they don't even need me to prompt anymore. It can preemptively satisfy my needs and desires.
Agent that's prompting other agents for you.
Dude, we're in Wall-E world, okay? Flawless Noob asks, will there be an update on Cod3x? And this is a good pivot point here for our shifting strategy here at Cod3x Labs, Cod3x.org, which is this is the last of Cod3x, guys. I don't know how else to put it to you, okay? There's not going to be any more updates through this video content, but we do have a newsletter, and we're always available in the Discord and the soon to be Reddit. I think we're going to be doing some more work in the Reddit. But
yeah, I mean, I think now that Codex is out and live, our number one goal is to put it in the hands of as many people as possible. Whereas previously, because the product wasn't live, a lot of it was like, hey, like, here's what we're building, here's what we're doing, hang out with us, join us, help us build it. And so we need to switch from like maintenance marketing to performance marketing, being we need to pull the numbers. And I think we'll probably still have like, some club codexes. I think we just need to not, it's not going to be the core of the strategy. We're going to move more toward direct marketing. We're going to move more toward content that can go outward instead of reinforcing inside of the castle, so to speak. So expect some changes to the content.
That's right, baby. We're trying to get more people in the door, and it's not so interesting for everyone to hear every minute update that comes through on the Codex platform. What they want to hear is, what does it do for me? Who are these guys? Are they cool? Are they funny? Do they make me smile, make me feel safe?
We've fortified our territory. It's now time to pillage some neighboring countries.
We need to start yoinking some market share, fellas.
Yeah.
I want Tony to launch Tony Fans. That will get some traction. Now we're talking. Now we're talking, Daniel.
Tony Fans.
Yeah, I would say
missionary strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I would say 3 months from now, Codex will be one of the best AI products in the world. Right now, there are a lot of cosmetic changes that need to be made, a lot of changes to the experience and the interface and how we onboard users and get them using the product. Obviously, these things need to be smoothed out. They need to be shortened. But they're all cosmetic. They're all things that are relatively easy to change. And so as we get into the SoFun Spark campaign, which is, we're already onboarding developers. If you're a creator, not a developer, if you have a technical skew or even just interested in learning prompt engineering, hit up our Discord and say you want to join the SIA, and we'll go from there. And really, like, the goal at the moment is just to introduce the world to Codex as a product.
Very true. Want to get as many people aware of what we're doing here and building, and so that requires a slight change in tactics. But hey, you're here for the ride. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Club Codex today, guys. Is there anything else, Charles, you want to tell the people? Anything you saw you wanted to spread the word on? Beavis?
I think
I want to talk about the fate of this.
Join the Discord and learn prompt engineering with us. We literally have like a course that we could easily sell for hundreds or thousands to unsuspecting SEO clickers, but it's going to be free, and we're going to help you master prompt engineering A to Z and using Codex and outperforming.
Who's running that? Is that you, or who's involved in this prompt engineering course?
So we're working with our friends at Bcamp, and also myself, Steven. We're going to recruit some other developers and community members to help us run it. And then we're going to recruit experts from across the crypto and AI industries to give you their kind of tips and tricks on how to make a perfect prompt, so you can understand what's going on in the guts of the LLM when you tell it to, plan your trip to Gary, Indiana.
Right on.
Gary, Indiana.
Well, guys, you heard the man. It's in our X and on our YouTube, the Discord link. Click that, join, and get in there. Learn how to prompt engineer. Charles.
I just wanted to say thank you to all the devoted Club Codex listeners. I love this time of the week. I've loved Mondays because of the show, and it won't happen as frequently anymore. But shout out to everybody in our community because you guys are awesome, and it's always fun chopping it up. So thanks everyone.
Thanks for chopping it up with us, guys. We'll catch you later. Maybe not the last ever Club Codex, but We'll see you.
Well, that's one for at least one
know.
week. We'll give ourselves 1 week break and then think and get back to you.
Yeah. All right. Adios, everybody. Do I have an exit video? I do, and it
Got that CDX token, we the ones chosen. Every stake, every year, while I stay golden. Cod3x Club, AI my focus, it's an anthem. CDX got them frozen.